Hi, I'm Paul Preston with Agenda 21 Radio, and I'm so happy to be here at the Church of Glad Tidings for Liberty Tour 5. And here at Liberty Tour 5, it's about the Constitution, it's about your constitutional rights, and I call the Constitution the second most important book, the second most important written document behind the Bible. And it's something that has protected us and given us our freedoms and our liberty here in the United States of America. I'm really very, very honored and happy to be with Jeanette Finicum. And those of you that have been following Agenda 21 Radio over the last year or so, actually since January, you've been following the story of LaVoy Finicum. And it was LaVoy Finicum who was actually killed by federal agents in late July in a roadblock that was actually an assassination. And we have actually brought forward evidence on Agenda 21 Radio, and we presented it to defense attorneys. And they're actually using it in trials to, well, hopefully free everybody who's gotten involved with the whole situation up there in Malheur and their arrest and so on. And we're very happy to say that this is the day after a verdict came in on the two Bundys and 5 other people that were arrested up there during the Malheur standoff, and they were all found not guilty. And so we're very honored to have Jeanette Finicum with us here for the Liberty Tour. She's going to be making a presentation with her daughter Tara, and we're, like I said, very happy to have her with us. So thank you for being with us here on Agenda 21 Radio TV. And gosh, it's just such an honor to be with you in your presence, and I know that it's a big struggle, but you have to be happy with what happened yesterday in that decision.
Well, thank you for having me, and indeed, we are all elated at the not guilty verdict that came in for all 7 that were facing those charges, so we're very pleased.
Yeah, I just know that because I've been watching the videos and everything, and we talk to people that are up there and everything, and they couldn't believe it actually happened. And now the worldwide response to it has been enormous. We've been getting a lot of people commenting on our Facebook and Twitter and so on, just saying, wait a minute, something just happened in this world of evil.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing. And it really was about your husband, I think, more than anything else. And I think even the defendants would say it was a testimony about your husband and how strongly they felt. I listened to all the video coverage and stuff, and they were all praising LaVoy as a real hero and a martyr to the Constitution.
Well, I know he's my hero. I know that that's how our entire family feels about him. But we're very grateful that the jury came to this conclusion that nobody was guilty of what the
government claimed.
What the government had been claiming. We were
Right.
so grateful, and we know that the Lord's hand was in all of this.
Right.
We know that.
Yeah, it was a surprise, and a friend of mine called me up, and Red Smith, who actually contributes to our show, and he's been one of my chief researchers. He keeps tabs on it, and he was calling me up every hour, and it was really funny because the way I found out about it, I'd left my studio at home to go to the studio at the radio station, and I was incommunicado with Red, and he was trying to get a hold of me to tell me the verdict that I got in the studio, and he told me the verdict. And so it's just a great day for liberty and for our country. The bad thing, of course, is the loss of LaVoy and the way that he was assassinated. And I use that term because I believe he was assassinated, deliberately set up to die in that situation up there. This has been a very difficult time for you and your family, and our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Thank you.
I guess the question is, what are you going to do now?
Well, we have announced that we are going to move forward, and we are going to file charges. My attorney is Brian Claypool out of Los Angeles, and we will be making that announcement next month.
Mm-hmm.
But, my husband was innocent.
Right.
He didn't get his day in court. They did kill him. He should have been afforded his due process. And I think that it is important for us to go back and make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody ever again. It's not okay that our government behaves like a big bully. It's not okay.
We have a term on our radio show, totalitarianism, and that's really what this is. Because no, the government had no right to do what they did based upon our Constitution and our God-given rights to us. And they have violated every one of our God-given rights. And in the case of LaVoy, every single American has been violated. And Americans should be outraged if they understood the relationship of the Bible to the Constitution, understood the Constitution. And of course, that's what we're trying to do in our program, is to educate people about the Constitution and their God-given rights. But it's time, obviously, in your situation, that you're going to turn a different page, different chapter in your life with this verdict, because, like you said, LaVoy is no longer with us. The government did not afford him the rights, and the government took his life. So I guess the question is, where are you going to go from here in that regard? What's going to be your direction for moving forward with getting the story out about LaVoy, which I think is just an incredible story, and we'll be talking about this in the Liberty Tour, that LaVoy actually was going to another county. 300 people were waiting for him in John Day and the Bundys, and they were going to set up Constitution classes to teach about the Constitution. And as I discovered in our research, that the two senators, the two state senators to Washington out of Oregon, actually went to James Comey's office in the FBI several days before he was killed and demanded that Comey put a stop to the spread of the virus. And that virus was what LaVoy was teaching people in Harney County about the Constitution.
And our family has made it a family goal and mission to move forward with his message and to continue to teach about the Constitution and about our liberties that are being lost and stripped from us. We need to be informed. We need to be educated about what that document says, or we have no way to fight back. That is a divine document. It's a divine document. Those men were inspired by God to write that. We are living in a choice land, a land of freedom. And it's not by happenstance. Right. I'm mumbling with my words, but it's not by mistake. And so it is our responsibility to continue to fight for that liberty and to make sure that our agency isn't stripped from us.
And so many people today, and we Americans, by the way, are pretty industrious people. And for the most part, we work really hard, and we have a lot of faith in the fact that our government is granting us and allowing us to have those God-given rights. But over time, that's not been the case. They've been taking more and more and more and more of our liberties away, either through regulation, over-regulation, which is what totalitarians like to do. They legalize everything. It's interesting in Great Britain, when they refer to the legalists, they call them, actually in America, the communists. And that's what you have right now, is a lot of legalists that are in our own country, in our own government, that is over-regulated to such a degree that we have lost our rights.
We have lost our rights in so many different ways and in so many different areas of our life. I know that I am struggling right now trying to hold together a ranch and a family without my husband. And I know that my experience with the BLM agency has not been positive. And he was fighting about that. He was talking about that. He was bringing awareness to the regulations that they were making in-house, that we, the people, do not vote on or have a say on, and all three forms of government being represented within the BLM without our consent. I mean, that's not how the founders set it up.
No.
They were supposed to be separate for our protection.
Well, and one of the things that we get into, and of course education was my field for 41 years, is what we've seen with the loss of education in terms of the Constitution, teaching the Constitution, which has really transpired over the last 25 years. There's been a deliberate attempt by the left to dissolve any knowledge, if you will, of the Founding Fathers in history books, or anything that's legal in the sense of our Constitution and our understanding of the Constitution. They're not teaching the kids that.
No, they're not. They're not. But what I found very interesting in this whole process with the trial, with the Ammon Bundy and Ryan Bundy and Shauna and David Fry and the others, while I sat there and observed, the judge would not even allow the Constitution in her court. And when Ryan went to go pull it out of his pocket to read a phrase from it, she ordered him not to read from that book. Now, here in a court of law, we can't even bring the Constitution in as evidence. You can't read from the Constitution or state the law in the Constitution. There's something wrong there.
Well, what is wrong is these legalists, if you will, for the lack of another term I could use, but the totalitarian legalist, they're one world order people. And this is where you get into the Agenda 21, the whole one world globalist view. And in order to be a globalist, you have to make sure that you have no borders, no boundaries between nations or states or anything. And here in the United States, we have this funny little thing called the Constitution, which provides for that. And the best way to dissolve this nation, which is what they want to do, is to destroy the Constitution. And that's what they did. And it's very obvious. They want to stop the spread of the virus.
And through not educating our children,
right.
We are becoming a very ignorant people. We don't understand what it means.
Right.
We've been brainwashed to believe that it's out of date and that it's no good and no longer pertains to us. And I challenge everyone just to pick a copy up and read it. It is not out of date. It does pertain to us. And if you want to have your life free, this is the only way that we're going to have it in this country.
Well, and an understanding, like what we're trying to do with our program is we're trying to inspire people in California, Northern California, which you've done actually a pretty good job so far, to set up constitutional classes in their own communities. And it's being successful. We're getting 20 and 30 people at a time who sign up for the classes, so we're starting to see that expansion. People want knowledge, they want information, and they know that the mainstream media is not giving it to them. They've been lied to, and they know that they're just nothing more than an extension of the government lie complex. And that's why in our position in Agenda 21 Radio and the alternative media, we're able to get the truth out, and people want the truth.
People do want the truth. And you're right, that's the only way that we even knew what was happening in 2014 was the alternative media. We had to rely on Pete Santilli or the other groups that were out there at the time. And I find it very interesting that the ones that were brave enough to go out to Malheur or to the Dakotas have been arrested.
Right.
The media, the strong media, the ones with conviction and want to bring the truth to the people are ending up in jail. And are we not in America?
Well,
what does that mean anymore?
Like with the Constitution's pretty clear in the First Amendment about freedom of the press. And anybody can be a press reporter. Anybody, that's what the Constitution says. And anybody can do that. But there's a lot of politicians, and this is how the legalists treat it, is that you have to have credentials.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of bona fides. That's a
little sign that says you're press.
Right. So it was interesting when I first started getting into this business of being a media person 15 years ago, I made myself my own press pass. And I found out I could go anywhere. I could go on sets, I could go any place I went, press conferences, any place I wanted to go, I could go. And it was like, well, this is pretty neat. And no one's ever stopped me. No one's ever questioned me, other than, who are you? And let me see where you're from.
Where are you from?
Yeah, the normal checks. Let me see your driver's license or something like that to cross-reference. But no one's ever challenged me. And I challenge everybody out there to do what needs to be done and get the word out and become citizen journalists on their own. And what we're seeing right now is the rise of the citizen journalist. And in this environment that we have, which is really totalitarian, really, if the election cycle goes the wrong way, it will really become totalitarian. Yes. But what we're finding is that people are taking it upon themselves to learn how to research and to find the truth and then spread the word. And
I was really encouraged by that process, watching it unfold with the Malheur incident and with the trial system. We had a few individuals that were so diligent and so faithful and so dedicated that they were there every single day. They were filming, they were questioning, they were interviewing people, they were giving us updates, and that's how the rest of us could keep up with it. And there's just a few trusted people that we could rely on, Kelly Stewart or John Lamb, and it was wonderful to see that. They did it with their phones, and so we were all informed. But what I found also that was interesting, I thought to myself when I was listening to more of the court proceedings, how they were bringing up Facebook, personal messages and posts that were being made by these defendants. And I felt like sitting there listening to this, that was their way of trying to intimidate the American people to not use that form of media to help keep us all informed. Look what we're doing here in this case. Look at how we're going to use their words against them in court, and they're going to go to jail, and we're going to put them in jail for 100 years and throw away the key. So you American people, you watch this, because this will be you next. That's how I felt sitting there. I felt that coming across.
Well, you know, let's extrapolate that out to the video from the drone.
Right.
And that was clearly messaging to the American people, you're
Look,
next.
You're next.
Right.
And let's just make it so grainy and so fuzzy that we can't pinpoint
All the
exactly
details.
everything.
And
but we're the strongest, most capable country in the whole world.
The optics on those drones, and we live in a community that is right next to a major Air Force base that flies reconnaissance with U-2s and used to be SR-71s and lots of drones. We know what resolution is really could be had there.
Well, what was interesting is that I had seen a picture of the film that came from a drone that was over Malheur. Someone had come in and visited Malheur, and they had asked permission to fly the drone and take some pictures, and they were given that permission. And it was as clear as a bell.
Right.
You could see the blades of grass in between the snow and the mud. And it was amazing. And so you know that that was strategic.
Right.
You know, they had a plan.
They did, and we've talked about the plan a little bit, and there's a big thing about the plan and how they executed all this, and then executed your husband, which your husband is a real hero in a lot of ways, because had he not driven into the snowbank and stopped in front of the trucks in the roadblock, the other three would have been killed, certainly, because they were on a mission to assassinate everybody that was there.
I believe that he wanted to keep the people in that truck safe, and I believe that that's why he ran from the truck the way he did, with his hands in the air.
Right, and he did.
To focus the attention onto him instead of the people. And you know, we have she is almost 19 now, but our youngest daughter is 18 years old. Victoria Sharp was 18 years old, and I know that he was thinking about her and his good friend Shauna. Right. And Ryan.
And it was interesting because we first talked to Victoria the day after. We interviewed her on an interview with her, and she was just as clear and concise the day after as she was the night that they dropped her off at the Safeway. And she got on the phone with people and started talking. So it's an interesting way in which he saved their lives, but he did, by taking the angles away from the snipers. And by the way, for the record, it took them 2 days to set up the ambush site. Yes. That's called premeditation. I just don't know how you can have a military-style ambush set up in 2 days in advance and say, oh,
well,
you know.
It certainly wasn't a routine traffic stop.
No, they had no reason to do that. Yeah. Well, listen, I think we're about done here, and I want to thank you very much for being with us here on Agenda 21 Radio TV. And we look forward to seeing you again and having you on again, and being involved with your lives, and we're certainly going to support everything you're doing. Well,
thank you. I appreciate you having me come, and I hope to be able to come next time and talk more about what we're moving forward with.
Awesome.